Hey, what's going on everyone? It is Dennis here, and in today's video I want to briefly talk about this little guy. It is the SmallRig 2226 cage for the Sony A5100. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I recently did a review video for the Sony A5100, a camera that was released back in 2014, making it a 7-year-old camera, but despite all that, it is still a pretty awesome camera. If you'd like to check out that video, go ahead and click on the link above here. Now, the Sony A5100 has a lot going for it, and one of the main things is that it is super small and super compact and lightweight, especially if you have the 16 to 50 kit lens, as you see on there. Very, very pocketable. Maybe not so much in your pants pocket, unless you wear cargo pants. Is that still a thing? Definitely pocketable in a jacket pocket or maybe the front pocket of your hoodie. Easily throw it into a backpack or your purse or your fanny pack, if fanny packs are a thing. I think they're still a thing. Anyways, very small, very compact camera. That is definitely a good thing. Definitely one of the selling points of this camera. Now, the only thing is if you throw a larger lens onto this camera, it doesn't feel as ergonomically friendly as it is with the 16 to 50, and I'll kind of demonstrate what that actually looks like. Now, on the A5100, we do have this nice little grip here. Definitely comes in handy. Also has a back grip here for your thumb. So with this small little compact setup with the 16 to 50, definitely feels nice. But once you throw on a larger lens, like the 18 to 135, definitely a much larger setup here. But yeah, I mean, the grip is still okay, but it definitely doesn't feel as comfortable because this grip, as you can see, is not much of a grip anymore once you have a larger lens on here. Now let's throw on a much heavier lens. All right, so there is the Sigma 16mm f1.4 prime lens on the A5100, and definitely much heavier. This is the heaviest lens I own, and on this little camera body, it's a little awkward, especially if I'm gonna be carrying this around for a full day of shooting. Definitely front heavy, doesn't feel as well balanced as with the 16 to 50 kit lens. Yeah, not very ergonomically friendly. Now, obviously there are much larger lenses out there for the Sony APS-C E-mount system, but these happen to be the largest lenses that I own. I mean, it's not terrible, but if you plan on carrying this around for longer periods of time, this small grip might not be enough for a larger lens. All right, so this is the SmallRig Cage, and as you can see, it is made all of metal. The main things about this, the features, are that it's gonna add a much needed extra bit of grip here for your camera. It also will add some bit of protection because it's a metal frame that'll be sitting on the outside of your camera. It also has a cold shoe mount here, and we'll talk about that later. And then also you'll notice that it has these little mounting holes here. So you'll be able to mount different attachments or handles and grips and such onto your camera. So without further ado, let's throw the camera into here. All right, so one thing I've learned is that it is much easier to mount the camera into the frame if you take the lens off. Throw your camera right on in, and we're gonna screw it into the bottom there. Okay, I think we're good, pretty stable. Throw the lens back on there, and voila! We got the A5100 in a nice, nifty SmallRig cage. So the cool thing about these SmallRig cages is that they make them specifically for the camera that you have. So this 2226 SmallRig cage is made specifically for the Sony A5100 as well as the Sony A5000 because they have the same camera body. And really, they are very form-fitting, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. And they also keep in mind the different switches and dials and ports that you have on the camera. So as you can see, you have full access to your on-off switch, your shutter button, the pop-up flash also is fully functional on here. The flip-up screen is not obstructed. Well, maybe towards the bottom there, but still should be good. Your SD card slot, and what is that, micro USB and micro HDMI slots are all accessible there. And also the battery door is not obstructed at all. But you also have access to your little lanyard sleeve clip thingies. So really, really cool. Now what I wanna do is actually throw on a larger lens. All right, there it is. Looking pretty good. Nice. Kind of makes your camera look a little bit more professional, honestly. I mean, I don't know if that's really important, but definitely feels like a more substantial fit to the camera. With this grip, with this added grip, it just feels a lot better while you're trying to film and shoot and take photos here, and it just feels a little more ergonomically friendly. Now let's throw the Sigma 16 on here, which is the heaviest lens that I own. Let's see how it feels with the SmallRig Cage. All right, so we got the Sigma 16mm f1.4 prime lens on the Sony A5100 with the SmallRig Cage, and this feels good. I mean, not only does it handle good, it looks good too. So this is what it looks like. So Sigma 16 on the A5100 with the SmallRig Cage. And I mean, I wasn't joking when I said that this makes your camera look like professional. It just looks legit, honestly. Looks like you mean business. You know, it doesn't look like you're snapping photos for family. It looks like you're taking some professional photos with this bad boy. Whew, that looks good. Oh, would you like your photo taken? Oh yeah, hold on one second here. Yeah, that'll be $100. Thank you. Yeah, professional. Yeah, yeah. You see the cage? Professional. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so one of the appeals of the SmallRig Cage is that it gives you a much more substantial grip, and I definitely feel like that is true. Definitely feels a lot better, especially with the added weight of the frame. It just feels more balanced, especially with the larger and heavier lens. Definitely feels a lot better. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is the battery door of the camera. So technically that's the bottom of the camera. And there is quite a bit of extra material here on the cage. So that's actually giving you more material. It's probably about 1/2 inch. That's giving you more of a grip on the camera, which I think is very, very important, especially if you're gonna be shooting with a larger lens like so, and you're gonna be shooting, you know, for throughout the day or for hours. This is definitely gonna feel a lot better than using the larger lens on the small A5100 without a cage. Now the other thing is it's gonna give you a bit of protection. Obviously it's not gonna be like foolproof protection, but with it being a metal body frame, this will protect it from any bumps, or the majority of bumps if you're throwing it in and out of your camera bag. If you're shooting photos and people are hitting you or whatever, bumping into you, it'll add a bit of protection to your camera. So there is a cold shoe here on the SmallRig Cage, and I don't know exactly how useful this will be for this camera specifically, because the Sony A5100 doesn't have a microphone jack. A lot of people like to throw their shotgun microphones on a cold shoe of their camera or hot shoe, and they'll mount it just like this and then record their videos and vlog and stuff like this. But like I said, this camera doesn't have a microphone jack, so I don't really see that I would be using it for that. And then also another thing is the placement of the cold shoe. It's right in the way of the flip up screen. So if you're trying to use this for a microphone to vlog with or anything, it'll block a big portion of your screen. I mean, for me, I obviously won't be using this with a microphone. Now, the only thing I can think of using this cold shoe for is actually a light. So this is my light. This is the LumaFusion Panel Mini. I have it here on a little ball head kind of mount thing here. I don't know if you can see it. And then I have it with a little cold shoe, so I could technically just throw this onto here. All right, so this is my Sony A5100 with the Sigma 16mm f1.4 prime lens with the LumaFusion Panel Mini sitting on top, utilizing the cold shoe mount of the cage. And yeah, we're ready to roll, guys. Turn this bad boy on. Full blast there. All right, yeah, let's get our shots in. Awesome, yeah, doing some professional stuff here. Yeah, all thanks to the SmallRig. Oh yeah. Now, aside from the cold shoe, there are these little mounting holes all over the SmallRig Cage. Now, the cool thing about SmallRig is they're pretty much the leading company that makes these little frames for your cameras, so that way you're able to build up your camera into a rig, hence the name SmallRig. So you can basically mount little handles or grips or cold shoes even, or they just make so many different accessories that will allow you to mount up monitors and microphones and stuff. So SmallRig is kind of the leading company that makes these little frames. There are some other like copycat companies out there, but there are different accessories that you could throw onto a SmallRig cage. So that's kind of the appeal to these things, not only for the grip, not only for the protection, and then not only for, you know, an added cold shoe, you can also mount stuff. Now, I don't actually have any specific accessories for this, but I do have one thing. So this is a little SmallRig cold shoe mount. And I guess if I wanted to be able to mount something onto this camera and not utilize the cold shoe here, because like we discovered earlier, it blocks the screen, maybe I could mount this cold shoe somewhere else, like here maybe? So I'm gonna try to mount this little cold shoe thing onto the cage somewhere, and maybe I can have a better spot for my LumaCube, so that way it's not blocking the screen. I guess we'll mount it here, and then it also comes with this little screw I'm gonna throw into there. Also comes with this little hex wrench thingy. Seems like it's on there. Okay, so now I have mounted a extra cold shoe on the cage. Now, I mean, this is not preferable just because it is blocking the grip here. I don't know if you can see, but you know, if I had this on a tripod or something and I just wanted to be able to throw a light on here, this would be nice. All right, so let's take the LumaCube and slide it on into the cold shoe that we just attached to the cage. Ooh, that's cool. All right, so look at that. I can now mount my light onto the side of the camera thanks to the cold shoe thing here, and I can flip up the screen if I want to. I mean, maybe I could vlog like this. It's kind of an aggressive setup, really, but it works. It works. Where's that thing at? And check that out. That's a pretty decent vlogging setup there. Sony A5100 with the Sigma 16mm f1.4 prime lens in a SmallRig cage with a Manfrotto Pixie and a LumaCube panel mini. Nice, right? So the LumaCube actually has a different spot. I can actually mount it here. Ooh, look at that. So there's my LumaCube on the little ball head thing here, mounted onto the cold shoe of the SmallRig cage. And look at that, that's cool. Honestly, that's pretty awesome. That's not something you'd be able to do without the cage. So overall, I feel like the SmallRig cage, the 22-26 for the Sony A5100 is definitely a must-have accessory if you plan on using larger, heavier lenses on your Sony A5100. If you're gonna be holding your camera for longer periods of time and you're gonna be taking a lot of photos or shooting a lot of video, or if you want to be able to mount up some accessories to your camera, you could either utilize the cold shoe mount on the frame itself, or you can add stuff like this. You could add monitors, you could add microphones if you wanted to. This definitely is a must-have accessory if you're gonna be using your camera for such uses. A little side note is some people have said that if you utilize this SmallRig cage, it will actually help dissipate the heat from the camera because the Sony A5100 does have an overheating issue. They say that using this frame will actually help dissipate the heat and will prevent your camera from overheating as quickly as it normally would. So that could be a positive right there. Definitely recommend the SmallRig cage, the 22-26 SmallRig cage made by SmallRig for the Sony A5100. Definitely recommend it. All right, so that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I hope you found it helpful and enjoyable. And if it was, please leave it a like. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, please think about subscribing. That's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.